Hi, and thank you for joining me for this video where we're going to cover how within RackEmApp you can create, manage and operate a singles league. We have supported singles leagues for quite some time within RackEmApp using the competitions functionality, but we decided to make it easier for our users to create a dedicated area for this with a streamlined process to make it as easy as possible for you to run your singles league. As it is a league, it exists within your administration menu under league management and singles leagues, and within singles leagues it shows you any singles leagues you have set up within the system. You can either tap on a singles league to allow you to edit and access, manage, operate whatever you want to do for that particular singles league. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to create a new singles league by pressing the button. Firstly, I give my league a name, so this might be the Winter Singles League because my summer one is already in progress. I can choose a capacity for that league, so that's the maximum number of people I want to be able to enter that league. This is limited by your license, so if you've only got the free license, that's 16 people, and you can change your license to support more if you need to. If you want to operate a seasonal Roll of Honour, make it a perpetual singles league, and that way it will track the winners between every season. You can determine what rule set is being played for this singles league. That will then appear on the website, both for informational purposes so that players know what they're signing up for, but also as a quick and handy access to be able to allow people to quickly get to those rules in the event of a question or a dispute about it. You can have your league as handicapped, and we have 4 different methods for handicaps which you get entered when you create your entries, and it will calculate these for every single match versus who they're against. So it will take care of that stuff for you, and this is all detailed on our website as to how each of these gets applied. If you wanted to make this a private singles league, check that box. It'll make it invisible on your website. It will also make it so that players can't access it in their app, and it's something really for you to utilize for testing purposes. So you may choose to do this for your first one just to kind of learn the system if you want to. So you've got that checkbox available there. From a scheduling point of view, in most singles leagues that we experience, players need to schedule their own matches, and within the mobile app it will allow them to do this. Now if on the other hand your singles league takes place on a certain day of the week in a particular venue, using specific tables and times, then you would check that box to prevent players from booking their own matches. Next up, we've got our entry fees. Now again, this is displayed on the website, but because the system allows players to enter online and pay using either bank transfer, PayPal or by card, you can open that entries online. So I'm going to set my entry fee here. Again, this is also just informational purposes so they know what they're signing up for. If you wanted to display a shot clock on any stream or arena screens, then you can configure the shot clock here. Not anticipating that being used too much for singles leagues, but it is quite useful if you need to be able to do that. And then on the right hand side here we've got our content management, and this is the section where we can provide our players with as much information as they might need to know in order to sign up. And it might be information that you get asked regularly, so you want to put onto the web page, and you can just refer to people to say, read the web page, read the web page, read the web page. Much better than you having to answer the same question time and time again. So for example, for my entry criteria, this is just any rules that you have around who can enter. It might be over 50s, it might be juniors. So I'm going to put juniors only for my entry criteria here, just as an example. My description allows us to enter whatever information players need to be able to know before signing up. That might be to do with the structure of the league, it might be to do with the prize money. Anything you want to share with your players before or during the competition, you'll be able to enter that in here. So I'm just going to enter prizes to be won to let people know that there is going to be some prize money. And then I can enter any competition specific rules. So this could be around what happens around deadlines, what windows have you got to play at, what happens if you don't meet that deadline, any competition specific rules that apply to your singles league that you might want to know about here. So I'm going to put no extensions. Okay, and when I'm happy with the information that I provided, I'll press save and next, and that will take me to my entries page. The entries page is the same as any other competition entry page within RackEmApp, so you get certain pieces of information available. for example, whether or not they're allowed to enter online. So that will allow them to enter using the web page, which I'll show you in a second, and also whether or not those entries are open. Now, if I just check this box here, one of the things you'll see is in the menu down the left-hand side, it's created a menu item for our Winter Singles League. Clicking on this will allow me to access an information page. And if I open that into a new tab, you can see here, it takes me to the web page for that Singles League. It shows me the rules that I've determined, and it shows me that online entries are currently closed. So it shows all that information that I configured in the previous screen available here for anybody to be able to access. Returning back to the management screen, I can press open for entry through all channels, and if I then refresh this page, I can then see how full the competition is, and I can enter this competition online. Now, if you don't want to do online entries, that's absolutely fine. Returning back to this entry screen here, I can press new competition entry, and I can enter in all the competitions that I need to enter. Search my user, I can search based upon name or the RackEmApp player ID, and when I've selected that player, pressing complete entry will add the player to the entry list. I'm just going to repeat this process to add some entries into my Singles League. If for some reason when you're entering a competition entry they might not already exist within your player database, when you try and search for this player, I can press register new player, enter their name, smashing, and press complete entry, and that will add a brand new player into my player database. If I make a mistake in any of the names of these players, much like you can anywhere else in RackEmApp, if you go into your league management, you've got players, so that'll take you to a player database to allow you to edit any of the players that you have in here, which might include adding email addresses, sending invitations to register accounts, etc. Now, just for future purposes, if you wanted to, you can email your competitors. So this is quite useful if you needed to share updates with them. You wanted to tell them when it's launching. You can obviously send a test email here as well, but just allows you to perhaps communicate with your competitors in a GDPR compliant way, because it's not sharing you their email addresses. This is actually just emailing them with their registered account. So that's something you might choose to use. But also within your entries report here, it will allow you to determine who's in there and when they entered as well, just in case you need to know that information. When I have all of my players entered, I can press the next button and I can start setting up my round. This screen is where you set up all of your league groups. It is just like a competition round, so you have the ability to give it a round name, which I've called groups here, but this is because some singles leagues then have perhaps a playoff, or the final singles league placings might then contribute to a seeded competition knockout. So that's why this is still a competition round. When it comes to date information, you choose whether your matches need to be played on a particular date or by a particular date, and that determines when the match deadline is going to be. I'm going to choose by. We then have the match setup. So typically you might have one set, which is a race to or a best of certain number of frames. Obviously, if you're allowed to play for a draw, then you would choose best of, and that would be an even number, but it could be a race to. So it'll handle either of those in the way that you want it to. But even in a race, you might want to insist that everybody can play all frames in case you use a points per frame kind of setup there. The match time box is utilised by streaming and arena screens, just in case you wanted to have a particular limit on how long a match needs to be played by. And then we move into the group setup section. Now, firstly, before we do anything else, just have a look at this group league table configuration. This determines which league table profile is used to award points. So your league table profile is how it determines how your points are awarded. Now, I'm going to go into setup league table profiles. I'm going to open that in a new tab. And I can see here I've got an existing league table profile for singles leagues, And this allows me to see, okay, my wins will award 3 points, 1 point per draw. I can also award points per frame and also points per set. I can choose what happens in the event that the league table is tied, and I've also got a whole raft of different bonus point systems as well that you can utilise here. So all of this stuff is documented. Just search within the documentation for league table profiles. The important thing is you need to assign a league table profile so it can determine how the rewards can go to the player. Now we're also going to do group setup here. Now we've got quite a small singles league. I'm only going to be creating one group. But if I choose that one group, I can choose whether they're going to play each other once or twice, and then I can either automatically draw the groups. So this will randomise all players across all groups in an even manner. Okay, and so that's useful if everybody's of a similar ability, or perhaps if you're handicapping. Now the other thing that you can do there is choose manually draw groups. And when I choose manually draw groups, it just allows me to enter all the players that are in this group. Now I'm going to randomise it, so I'm going to press automatically draw groups, and it will do exactly the same thing, but shuffling everybody around. And it uses a shuffle mechanism, so every time that you press that button, it will redistribute those people into the groups. So now it knows how many groups you've got. You can choose enter your calendar dates. So this is all the dates that all of your matches need to be played by. So let's say I need that to be played by the 12th of July. Perhaps I have a weekly deadline. I set these dates for when these matches need to be played. And I can just set that up here. 19th and then the 23rd. Okay, and I can see here my groups all ready to go. And at this point I can press start round, and that is going to start my competition. It shows me all of my matches. I can change these group names as well, so perhaps I want to refer to these as divisions. I could call this Division 1, and I can update the name of that. I can also indicate on this box as to who's being promoted and relegated by adding some indicator lines here. But I have all of my matches here. Now for all of these matches I've got a number of different functions that I can perform. Just getting into some of those. So for example, if I needed to change a player, I can press the edit button here. I can look up a new player to replace it. I can replace them, or I can set the whole entry as a buy if that particular player has been withdrawn from the singles league. For any single one of my individual matches, I can see my match code, but I can also see a number of other different functions here. For example, I can reschedule this particular match into a different match week if that's something that you wanted to do. Wouldn't happen particularly frequently. I can choose to reverse this fixture, so this will swap home and away. I then get my streaming options to determine if it's being streamed on a particular table, and this will obviously pick up the arena screens and stuff that you have there as well. And I've also got the option for referee mode. That's an entirely different mode that you might want to utilise in terms of kind of scoring your matches, but I can assign referees. I can also schedule my matches for this as well, so this is a bit like a calendar. So if I needed to specify a particular date, time and table, I get the opportunity to do that as well. Now, everywhere within the administration area, if I wanted to record a score, tapping the versus button will allow me to enter scores for that match. You can see I've got my breaker, and of course that would usually be alternated. Okay, and I can also indicate who won each individual frame. Now I've got two different types of update here. If I can press the update only button, it will update the score by itself. If I press update and commit, it will complete the match. And that means it can't be picked up by anybody else. You can come back in and you can edit this score, and you can always keep updating this committed result. What you'll see is when the results have been committed, then it updates the league table here, just so that you know that all those things are being processed instantly in real time without you needing to do any manual calculations. Now, of course, the advantages of using a system like this are not necessarily that you can enter the scores. You don't want to do that. You want the players to enter the scores themselves. And if they are using the mobile application and they have a user account, they can do so from within their own application. Or alternatively, they can utilise this match code here. And I'm going to show you how to do that within the mobile app. On the right hand side of the screen here, we can see here I'm logged in. And if I go into my menu button, I can go into my matches and it will show you my competition matches. Then it will show me matches for all the leagues that I'm a player of, whether it's the singles league, other competitions, but I can see here specifically under Evolve 8 Ball, it's got my winter singles league matches that I've created here. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can book these matches. This doesn't book it with the venue, but it does allow you to understand when people have scheduled their matches, and you can do that. But ultimately, what you really want to do is press the play button, and pressing play will take you to the scoreboard for that match. And the best thing to do once you have this is by rotating the screen. Then you see what the user will be able to see. And you can see it's just like a physical scoreboard. But when you indicate who won the lag, it will then put a breaker indicator in here so that you know who's broken. Now you can then start recording the wins. You can see the home win buttons are on the left hand side, away wins are on the right. If it's a home win, just by winning the frame, you can press home win and press yes. If it's a win by dish, then you can press the button. It doesn't say break dish or reverse dish, it just says dish because it knows if this person's the breaker, it will record this as a reverse dish for the home player. And you keep repeating this process until all the scores are complete. And when it reaches the winning threshold, so it's out of race to 9, it's first to 5, I can complete my match and it updates the score. Now what I can see, if I can move this out to the side, if I refresh my singles league page, you can see here this now shows me played 2 and it's got my result recorded here. Now if your users do not have user accounts, I would encourage you to get your players to have accounts because it's much easier for them that way, but alternatively they still can download the mobile app and they can still access the scoreboard. You can see here I have a button on the right hand side. They're not logged in, but they can press the access scoreboard button. Pressing that will ask them to enter in a match code. The match code pull from the match here, so let's say we'll do the Bob Frapples and Carl Hickbread match. That is this code here. And that will allow me to access the scoreboard for that match. And again, I can rotate the screen and I can start entering my scores as that player. So you've got all of the options available to you. Now what you will notice, whilst all this is going on, we've seen it from the view as an administrator, we've seen it from the view of a player. But how do players see how the league standings are, what all the results are themselves? Well, this is where this menu on the left hand side comes into play. If you drill into this menu, I can click on my Division 1 group and it takes me to a page that's dedicated to that group with the latest league table. It also shows you all of the scores. I can click on a result to see the scorecard for that match as a casual viewer as well, and how that's broken down. And this is always live, so if there's any matches in play, it will show live scores and also the live league table. Thank you very much for watching. We've got lots more documentation on how singles leagues work, along with everything else that we've got available within RackEmApp at blog.rackemapp.com. And if you need any help, write to us at hello@rackemapp.com. Have a great day.